So we get all these emails, like tons of emails from people telling us about the words that they put in with their order, so their fortune or their message or whatever it was. And some of them are so thoughtful. They'll write unprompted and say, hey, thank you so much. Here's what this message meant to us. And it's just this whole history that is so much deeper than, 190 characters under fortune. I told our team about them, and we decided that we needed to come up with a way to share everybody's stories. So we're getting ready to launch Why I Wear. It's about the stories that go with the messages that people wear in their lockets and their jewelry. Of course, my team said, if we're going to launch this, then we have to launch with your story first. So here I am. I have a million stories. I feel like I've lived about 30 lifetimes. I'll stick with the story about fortune and frame. We have a list of questions that I get all the time. So the way I founded Fortune and Frame was completely a fluke. I had a fortune that I was holding on to. I was not a fortune collector. People ask me if I regularly held on to them, but no, it was a specific fortune. There are many paths to the top of the mountain, but only one view. And I thought that's a pretty profound fortune to get from a fortune cookie. And I had no idea what it meant. I thought it would be nice to be at the top of the mountain, but I felt like I was very much at the bottom and I needed some wisdom. And I really was looking for guidance wherever I could find it. I put it on my fridge. It kept falling off, and I went to look for a little frame for it because I thought, people hold on to these things. There has to be a frame for it. There was not a frame for it. I thought that was bizarre, but I was not in a position to make it. So I ignored it for 6 months. It kept haunting me. After a while, it wouldn't go away. And so I thought, okay, I'm supposed to do something with this. I know that sounds weird that you're supposed to do something, but I felt compelled. I don't even know where to start with this. I had no idea what I was doing. And I just started waking up at 5 a.m. and I just researched. I would call people that I read about in Forbes who were talking about making products, and I would get in touch with them and I would work with them. Well, I was really good at what I was doing in my career at that point, but of course I decided that I needed to pursue this thing that I was not good at all. We actually have a fortune that's about this, that's make sure to do what you love, not just what you're good at. And that's kind of about this time of being really awful at something that you're really compelled to do. I didn't know the order to design jewelry, you have to understand how it's made. So I had to work with a ton of people. I had to figure out who to trust. I had to make myself very vulnerable. I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I didn't know how to learn from other people. I didn't know how to trust people to take care of me. I didn't know how to trust people to guide me in the right direction. And I think that is one thing that I've learned a little bit. So in a way, I feel like Fortune and Frame was sent to me because I needed to learn those things. And then after we launched, I realized, when people were reading all of these messages that I wrote during that point as kind of notes to self, to myself, for some reason they weren't really identified with these things that I was saying to myself. A huge part of what I was learning during that time is just sometimes you cannot control the way things go. Really this idea of flow, and it would happen with designs. Our original locket, I wanted it to open with a key, and I spent probably a year alone trying to make that happen. And at one point, the jeweler that I was working with, she just said, Gretel, make it open with the clasp. She's like, you're going to kill yourself trying to make this happen. And finally, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm giving in. And everything went smoothly from there. And I was like, sometimes you literally can't control it, and that's okay. And the clasp is lovely. That lesson to me was not about a clasp, and it was not about a key. To me, that was part of that whole journey. Who writes the messages on your site? We get this a lot. Those first 200 to 300 messages I wrote, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm gonna write all the messages on the site. I love this. This is unique, and I do love that idea. But when we started getting all these questions like, do you have any hope fortunes? Do you have any messages for grads? Do you have this? And I looked at it. And every single fortune that I had written during that time was about perseverance, about keep going, work, design your life, let go. But there were none about hope or for, just well wishes for people who are entering this new phase of their life. recently we expanded the messages that are on our site to include famous quotes and customer stories. We have so many of those, but then I just put them into Google as a precaution, and I realized, oh, they're submitting famous quotes from other people. So we need to build up the original quotes from customers, but it made me realize like people are not always great at figuring out what they want to say to people. So that's what made me think we've got to use other people's quotes that express what people want to say. How has Fortune and Frame's message changed since the beginning? When we first launched, it was really kind of like my homage to the world and what I was learning on my journey, but I always wanted the brand to have its own identity. I actually think that some of the best pieces that we've designed came out of that time. But in terms of the message has become more confident. I think that the message is trying to be more inclusive, and by inclusive I mean it's not just about me and where I was in the space where I first launched the brand. It's more of like, what is everybody going through? People that I personally can't identify with, that I haven't had their experiences, what do they need to hear? That we're trying to represent way more as we evolve and grow the brand. What's my favorite piece? My ultimate favorite piece is the jagged locket. It was the first locket that I designed. I think that we're gonna bring it back soon. So it's my favorite for a million reasons. I think it's the coolest locket, but I also think that, because it was my first baby and I didn't know that I could design. So I love that locket. Of the current pieces, I really love the sphere locket that I'm wearing right now. I love the heart, I love the capsule. I love them all, or else they would not be here. That's one thing that's important to us, is that we have to love them and they have to be completely original. What is my favorite Fortune? So mine change all the time. The one that I'm wearing right now is, I know what it is. Let me see if I can navigate this without looking at it. Everything that is was first a dream. I know that's a little blurry. I think about Fortune and Frame and the idea that before we made these pieces, they literally did not exist in the world. They lived in, at that time, my head. And I had to figure out how to bring something that was invisible into the world. It was literally just a dream that I had. So it's kind of like, whatever you dream about, make sure that it's something you want, because it can come true. A lot of times it does come true because you accidentally manifest it. My thought is, I want to deliberately manifest, not accidentally manifest. But really, this is about the creative process for me. That's my story, and I hope that you guys like the new series, Why I Wear. We have so many amazing people, these heartfelt stories, things that you would never know about a person. I'm really happy to start sharing these with you guys, and I hope you like them.